You are so lucky that you're planning a trip to Rocky Mountain National Park. I love this national park. I love hiking. It has some of the best hiking trails in the country. It's different probably than you might expect, especially for a big mountain park. And so I am really excited to talk you through how to plan a trip here and all the things that you'll need to know for a great time in Rocky. My name is Ash. I'm a former park ranger and the founder of Dirt in My Shoes, and I love national park trip planning. It is so fun for me, and I love making sure that you have the best time possible when you visit the national parks. So today we're talking all about Rocky Mountain National Park. This is a really popular national park, and so it is critical that you have a good plan in place so that you can get to everything, so that you're not bogged down by all the crowds, and so that you're able to see the best that this park has to offer. So let's get started. We have a lot to cover today, and I can't wait to help you plan your trip. Let's talk all about Rocky Mountain at a glance. I just want to give you a good overview of the park so that you know what to expect. So firstly, Rocky Mountain National Park is located in Colorado. And it is a park that is really well known for its high mountain peaks. You've got a 14,000 foot mountain in this park, and so a lot of people like to come here to get to the top of that 14er, but you've also just got huge mountains all around you, whether or not you plan to hike to the top of one. So it's really well known for those high mountain peaks. There's a ton of wildlife in this park. There are a lot of beautiful lakes and waterfalls. It really is a beautiful mountain paradise. The highest elevation you can reach by road in this park is 12,183 feet above sea level. Mind blown, right? It's so high. This is actually the Trail Ridge Road is this road that you'll take to reach the high point. And 11 miles of this road is above 11,000 feet above sea level. So it is so high. There's no other national park that you can drive this high, especially on a nice paved road. And so it's just really cool that you can get that high. And there are some things that you'll want to keep in mind because of that, because you're at such a high elevation, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But just know that you can drive to over 12,000 feet above sea level in this park. Rocky Mountain National Park was established in 1915. This is National Park number 9, and so it is a pretty early on park. It has a lot of cool history. There's some cool places that you can see, like where they originally had the road into the park, and it's a really cool national park with a lot of cool history. Rocky Mountain National Park is just a little bit over 266,000 acres. And the reason that I'm telling you this is because it is one of the most heavily visited national parks in the nation. So it has over 4 million visitors per year. That usually puts it right up there in the top 5 most visited national parks in the country. And the size of the park at 266,000 acres is moderate. It's not a huge national park. It's also not super small, but in relation to how many people visit this park, it will feel a little bit crowded just because it's not a massive national park. It's a good size. There are definitely ways to spread out, but you will want to keep in mind that this park isn't massive, and so there are really only a couple places or a couple sections that people go, and there are so many people that love to come to this park. And so that plays into all the traffic and crowding, which we'll talk about, but you will want to keep that in mind, in comparison. So Yellowstone National Park actually gets a few less visitors than Rocky. Rocky typically stays busier than Yellowstone. And Yellowstone is almost 10 times the size of Rocky Mountain. So that's just something, even Yellowstone feels crowded, even at the size that it is. So Rocky is a lot smaller and it has more people that come to the park. So we'll talk about it, but I just wanted to let you know so that you can go into the park with certain expectations and know just how important it is to have a good plan. Okay, so now I want to talk about where Rocky is and how to get there, the best ways to get to this park. And so we're taking a look at this article on Dirt in My Shoes, but I'm going to scroll down here to this map. Okay, so you've got Rocky Mountain National Park, which is right here. This is Colorado right here. You've got Wyoming. Here's the Wyoming state line right up here. So you're about in the middle top of Colorado. And Rocky is here, and then you've got basically the whole Denver area with suburbs out here. And so it's not that far. The Denver airport is only about an hour and a half in good traffic from Rocky Mountain National Park. And so you'll fly in over here, and then there's several ways to get up to Rocky from there. And then you'll enter Rocky through the east side, which is Estes Park, is the main town right out there. You do have a few smaller airport options. So there is one here in Loveland, in between Loveland and Fort Collins, that you might be able to fly into. Cheyenne is just right up here. But typically, most people fly into Denver. That makes the most sense. It's a massive airport. You can fly there from anywhere, and it's not that far from the park. So I would definitely aim for Denver if you're hoping to fly in. Let's scroll down, because if you're driving in, then you will want to note some of these roads along the way. So here as we get closer to Rocky. So Rocky is right here. And if you're coming in from Denver, again, you're going to come in either on Highway 36, you're going to come in on Highway 34. Both of these go through the mountains. This one, Highway 34, is much more windy and narrow and curvy. And so if you're in an RV or something, you'll want to take 36. And then down here we have the Peak to Peak Highway, which is really cool. And so that's a really cool scenic drive. So you've got a few different ways to get here from Denver. Then you've got the Trail Ridge Road that goes through the middle of the park. So this is the road I was talking about that reaches over 12,000 feet above sea level. And so that road just intersects through the middle of the park and takes you from the east side over here, Estes Park here, over to Grand Lake, which is the other entrance to Rocky Mountain. Most people come to Rocky Mountain from the east side, and so that side stays a lot busier. The town of Estes Park has a ton to do, lots of shops, restaurants, grocery stores, everything you could need. It's actually a really cool town. It's one of those really fun gateway towns. You know, sometimes the parks have gateway towns that are just okay, but Estes Park is really cool, and most people come in from that side. If you're looking for a quieter experience, you can go over to the west side of Rocky. It's much quieter over there. Grand Lake is a really quaint little village right on the shores of a beautiful lake. And so if you're looking for something quieter, not very many people come in through the park that direction, but it is a little bit further removed from most of the stuff that you'll want to do as a first-time visitor. So I personally like to split my time between the two sides, but if you're coming in from Denver, it probably makes the most sense to start in Estes Park. Let's talk about the best time to visit Rocky, or things that you'll want to know as you're trying to decide when to come to the park. So Rocky Mountain, because of its really high elevation, is a seasonal park. And typically, if you've not been to the park before and you're hoping to drive along the Trail Ridge Road, and you're hoping to get to some of the bigger, like really beautiful lake hikes and things like that, then you will want to plan your trip for either the summer or fall. The Trail Ridge Road typically fully opens around Memorial Day. However, there are often big snowstorms that will come through around that time and even into June that may either delay the opening, or it might close it for a couple of days here and there as they have to clear snow. So that's really, you know, those higher reaches of that road, you really don't want to be up there if it's really inclement weather, lots of snow or ice, because you are just like right up there at very high elevations. So it's actually pretty amazing to me that they can usually get that road open by Memorial Day. That's pretty crazy. So if you are like really wanting to hike and stuff though, you'll probably want to wait a little bit later. When you're visiting this park in the end of May or the beginning of June, it can still be pretty snowy on some of those trails, even if the road is open. So if I'm planning a trip for the summer, I usually like to be there in July. That's kind of the sweet spot for me. You know, if you can get in there before all the wildfires start hitting the West, which typically happens around the end of July, then hopefully you'll get like some clearer views and you won't have the haze in the sky. So that's why typically I will aim for the middle, sometimes the beginning, depending on the year. You know, if it's not a big snow year, then the beginning of July is fine for getting on some of those bigger trails. But yeah, for most people, July works really well. August is fine too. I've been there in August. It can just be hard to know with the wildfires, you know, kind of what it's gonna look like. But if that's the time you can go, then it can be really lovely at that time of year too. One thing you will want to note about the summer months, especially July and August, and even a little bit into September, is that you will get massive thunderstorms rolling through these mountains most afternoons. So what I learned after a few failed attempts at planning for this is that you can get to the park, you can look at the weather, you know, the morning before you go hiking, and it will look totally clear and beautiful and perfect. And then, you know, right around 1, 2 o'clock, those clouds, without fail, it seems, pretty much always roll in. Sometimes they'll just dump a bunch of water for a few minutes. It can get really dangerous if there's lightning, if it's a big thunder and lightning storm. There are certain parts of the park you absolutely don't want to be exploring during that time. And so as you're making your plan, especially if you're visiting in July and August and September, you know, you will want to keep in mind that you're not going to want to be in those high elevation areas during the afternoon hours if you can help it. The summer months are great, but I really want to tell you a little secret, and that is this park is like unmatched during the fall. I've not found a park that I love more during the fall months than Rocky Mountain National Park. And so if you can get in here, even like starting mid-September, you'll start seeing all these beautiful aspen trees turning golden yellow. You will get other colors mixed in there from maples and things like that. But I mean, for me, the aspens steal the show. It is phenomenal. There's not a cooler hiking experience than hiking through a grove of golden yellow aspen trees. And so I love Rocky in the fall. Another thing that makes Rocky so cool in the fall is that this park has so many elk, and these elk, the elk rut is during the fall, and so they'll come down to the lower elevations, and then you've got the big bull elk that are just bugling for all to hear, and it is phenomenal. It is just one of those experiences that you will never forget. It is so cool to be in the park during the fall. And so if you don't have to visit during the summer, I would wait. I would go in the fall. You know, again, mid-September, usually you can still get up into the mountains just fine, but you get all the colors and you get all the elk bugling, and it's just a really magical experience. If you wait a little bit too long in the fall, though, that's when the Trail Ridge Road will start to get snowy. Usually by about mid-October, they close that road down in the higher reaches. And so you wouldn't be able to drive the whole road if you wait too long. And so again, you know, there's kind of a couple weeks in there that you can sneak in and have a really cool fall experience. But the park does stay busier during that time too. And so if you're, you know, willing to be there at a busier time, you have a really good plan so it doesn't matter, then that is a fantastic time to be in Rocky Mountain National Park. Winter in Rocky is actually pretty great. They keep a fair amount of things open. There's cross-country ski routes that you can take. There's you can snowshoe up to waterfalls. So it is pretty cool actually to visit during the winter. They have a sledding area at Hidden Valley. You can take your sleds. A lot of people love to do that. And so while the middle of the Trail Ridge Road, you know, those higher areas of the Trail Ridge Road do close down during the winter, there's still a lot of the park that you can access if you're looking for some fun snow activities. For a really in-depth look of what to expect during each month of the year in Rocky Mountain National Park, you can go to Dirt in My Shoes, and I have this article that walks you through month by month what is open, what the crowd levels look like, what you can expect to be able to do. And so that is all there for you if you are looking for more information about any of this. But again, if you are visiting in the summer, I like early to mid-July. If you're visiting during the fall, typically mid to end September. And those are my favorite times to be in the park. Let's talk about current conditions and updates real fast because in this video, I cannot tell you what the park is going to look like while you're watching the video. It's just things change so much. Mother Nature is always, playing around in these national parks. And so it's hard to know exactly what to expect while you're in the park. What you'll want to do for this is click over to the nps.gov website for Rocky Mountain National Park. This is the official park website, and then you can click on the alerts tab, and that will take you to a current conditions page that will tell you all the things that you need to know for that time frame or for, most up-to-date information that they have. So that is something that you'll want to check as you're planning your trip, and then you'll want to check again as you're getting closer to your trip. Typically, I like to check that page at least once a month as my trip approaches, and then I'll check it more as it gets within a week or two of my trip because things are constantly changing. Types of things that you might see for Rocky, if there's inclement weather and the road has to close down, they'll put it there. If there are hiking trails that are closed due to bear activity or something like that, they'll put that there. If there's any construction projects in the park, then they'll put it there so that you know which areas might be closed or what you might need to avoid. And then if there's anything that happens due to Mother Nature, so common things in Rocky are wildfires. This park has been devastated by several large wildfires over the past couple of years. And so that prompts trail closures and area closures and things like that, So you will want to be keeping a tab on the updates in the park and things that you need to know. If that all feels really overwhelming to you, then I do have an itinerary on Dirt in My Shoes for Rocky Mountain. It's a full schedule, hour by hour, so that you know when to be where, so that you can avoid the crowds and everything like that. But included with that itinerary, I also have an updates page that I keep current. And so I am monitoring everything that's happening in the park, and then I am passing that information on to you in the context of your itinerary schedule. So I can tell you, hey, this trail is closed, so here's an alternative. Or, you're going to want to be to this parking area at this time, even, at a different time than listed because of the construction that's happening or because of the extra reservations that you need, things like that. So keep that in mind as you're watching through this video and just know, it's a fluid and flexible thing. Things change in this park all the time, and you can keep tabs on that or I can do it for you. Okay, let's talk about how many days to spend in Rocky Mountain National Park. For me, I like to spend at least 2 days. If you can give yourself 3, that's even better. Beyond 3 days, if you're wanting to really dig deep into this area and stay longer than 3 days, then that's when you'll start getting into, adding in some really long day hikes and just exploring some areas, some of the outlying areas like Wild Basin and the Longs Peak area, Lily Lake, stuff like that. You would add those in beyond your 3 days. If you're hoping to stick to trails that are around 3 miles or less that will just blow you away with the amount of scenery that you get to see, if you want to, cover all the main areas of the park, if you're hoping to see a lot of wildlife, things like that, then 2 to 3 days typically is fine for that. Again, 3 days if you can, because the more mornings and evenings you can give yourself, then the more you're going to be able to avoid the crowds, get better photos, see more wildlife, and just explore more areas of the park. If you're making a quick trip to Rocky and you've got 1 day, then I would focus on the east side of the park around Estes Park. You do have time to pop down into the Bear Lake area and also drive a portion of the Trail Ridge Road. And so I would stay over on that east side and try to hit as much as you can. But in 1 day, you'll barely scratch the surface. In 3 days, you'll feel like you had a really well-rounded experience in Rocky Mountain. Let's talk about one of the main questions that I get for national park trip planning, and that is, where should I stay for my trip to Rocky Mountain National Park? So let's take a look at the map. And if you look at the map here, you'll see that there's this main area. There's a lot going on over here. So this area, you have Estes Park right outside of the park here. So Estes Park is the town that most people like to base their trip out of. And then you've got all this right here. And then you've got the Trail Ridge Road that goes up and over the mountains here and then back down the other side. And this is the quieter west side of the park. Not as many people come over here. And then you've got Grand Lake, the town of Grand Lake down here, just outside of the west part of the park. Now, for planning your lodging, okay, I have a few thoughts about this, and it really kind of depends more on how long you plan on staying in the park. So if you will be in the park for 1 or 2 days, I personally would just stay near Estes Park. That makes a lot more sense because that puts you closer to the main stuff that you're going to want to do. If you're staying in the park for 3 days or 4 days, then that's when I will start looking at splitting my lodging between the Estes Park area and the Grand Lake area. I do really love Grand Lake. It's a really fun little quaint town and you're right on a lake. It's a totally different vibe than Estes Park, where Estes Park is like, it's go, 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 there's so much going on. There's so many things you can do. There's people who come to Estes Park just to come to Estes Park and not even necessarily spend much time in Rocky. So that's a totally different vibe than what you've got on Grand Lake, which is a quiet, like mountain, lake town. It's more relaxed. There's not as much to do. It's more about the scenery and just enjoying life. So I like them both. And if you're going to be there for 3 or 4 days, it's worth splitting your lodging so that you can see both sides. But looking at the map again, so you've got Estes Park over here. And what's nice about Estes Park is that you can get into the park either through this area, the Fall River entrance, or you can go down here and you can enter the park through the Beaver Meadows entrance. Either way gets you to the Trail Ridge Road really easily. But Beaver Meadows, you're closer down to the Bear Lake area down here. And then if you go through Fall River, then this is what takes you up the Old Fall River Road, which is a really cool road. It's the original entrance into Rocky Mountain National Park. And that's a dirt road, and a lot of people like to drive that. It's a one-way only. And so from Estes Park, you really have access to all of this super easily. This is also where you'll find the 3 main campgrounds in the park. So you've got Aspen Glen here, you've got Moraine Park here, and you've got Glacier Basin down here. And so again, this is the more populated, busy part because you've got 3 huge campgrounds. You've got the big town of Estes Park here, and you just basically have everything you need on this side. Estes Park has all the lodging options you could want. So there's lots of nice hotels and things. Lots of Airbnb options. You've got private campgrounds and, more like the Forest Service public campgrounds outside of there. And then you've got the national park campgrounds right there too. And what's unique about Rocky is that there are no in-park lodges in this park. And so within the boundaries of the park, you can't stay in a lodge. You have to be in a campground. And so that makes it really unique and especially puts a little bit more emphasis on those gateway towns, which is why Estes Park just has so many options because that's where everybody stays if they're wanting to stay in a hotel. So keep that in mind as you're planning out your lodging. You can find some really great options in Estes Park. And for me personally, I wouldn't venture outside of Estes Park. I would stay in Estes Park if you're hoping to stay in a hotel. There are some other options, like if you go down Highway 34 or Highway 36, or even down this way on the peak to peak, as you're going south, you will find other lodging options. But for how convenient Estes Park is to the park and for how important it is to get into the park at a good time so that you can actually get parking and so you're not waiting in entrance lines for an hour, then Estes Park really makes the most sense as a place to stay. I wouldn't venture outside of there if you can help it. Going over to Grand Lake, so you drive up and over the Trail Ridge Road and you go down to Grand Lake this way, or if you can circle around and go all the way around the bottom and go up to Grand Lake from that way. But Grand Lake has a lot less lodging options. It's much smaller, quieter, more peaceful. And so you won't find as many options in Grand Lake, but there are still some good ones. There's like some nice cabins you can stay in. And it really is, again, just that different vibe than Estes Park. So if you're wanting to split your lodging between both sides, it is harder to find some lodging in Grand Lake. But I also feel like, you don't want to go too far. A lot of people like to book lodging like down by Granby, which is fine, but you're adding a lot of extra drive time to even just get into the park from that side. And you'll notice when you look at the map, so you come into the park here, here's the park entrance on the west side, and there's really not like a ton to do over here. You've got some trailheads. These trails typically are just like more obscure trails that people like to do if they really like to hike. They're not necessarily trails that you're going to do as a first-time visitor. There are a few. There's some good ones over here, but for the most part, you're sticking to mostly short trails. And then as you get up, as you're climbing the Trail Ridge Road, you'll hit a couple of viewpoints over here. But this side of the park really does have a lot less to do than this side over here. So that's why I say, if you're only in the park for a couple of nights, then just focus over on the Estes Park side. That makes a lot more sense for getting to where you're hoping to be. But if you have a few extra nights, you want to go over and just enjoy a different way of seeing Rocky, as quieter, more wildlife, things like that, then staying down by Grand Lake is a really great option if you want to break it up a little bit. Now it's time to talk about the best things to do in Rocky. And I'm so excited to talk this through with you because there are so many cool options in this park. And we want to make sure that you don't miss anything and that you get to see the best of what this park has to offer. Okay, so I'm going to talk you through some things, but I have so many other things that you can read about and that are linked to on Dirt in My Shoes. So this Best Things to Do in Rocky Mountain National Park article has everything that you might possibly want to do, tons of information, the top 10 things that you want to do, the things you want to do if you love to hike, if you don't love to hike, if you want to bike, if you have kids with you, all of that is here. So I'm going to talk you through the basic things, but you can get a ton more information on Dirt in My Shoes. Okay, so I'm going to start at the map and kind of talk you through the different areas of the park here so that you can know what's available to you. So looking at the map, you have Estes Park over here, and then you've got two entrances that you can use to get into the park from Estes Park. If you take this southern one and you go down on this road here, this is the Bear Lake Road. The Bear Lake Road is one of the busiest parts of the park because there are a lot of really cool things you can do in here. And this road has some great trails, especially if you're looking for some like epic long hiking trails. You'll find those mostly concentrated over here in the Bear Lake area. So driving down the Bear Lake Road, you come down here, and most of what you're going to be wanting to do as a first-time visitor is down here kind of towards the end. So you've got Spragg Lake, which is really pretty. That's a nice flat walk. It's wheelchair accessible. We see a lot of elk in this area during the fall, so that's great. And then you get over to here, which is Bierstadt Lake. Bierstadt Lake is one of my favorites, but I do like to access it from Bear Lake. You can kind of go up and around, and that's one of my favorite places to go if I want to hike in like an aspen forest. So that one's really cool. And then you get down in here. So the Glacier Gorge Trailhead is super popular. This is a very, very hard place to get parking. And you have a few options here. So you can go to Alberta Falls. This is where most people will go as first-time visitors. Alberta Falls is a nice family-friendly hike to a beautiful waterfall. It really gives you a good taste of hiking in Rocky. And so Alberta Falls is a great option. Beyond that, most of what you would do here at the Glacier Gorge Trailhead is one of these longer hikes. And probably the most famous hike in Rocky, like the longer famous hike, is the hike up here to Sky Pond. And so that leaves from here at Glacier Gorge. But you've got so many other options. Like you can turn around as you go to Sky Pond. You can go over here to Mills Lake. A lot of people, you know, if you keep coming up here, you've got Black Lake. There's so many amazing things to do from this area of the park. And so this stays really busy. And then if you keep driving up to the end of the road, that's when you get to Bear Lake and the Bear Lake Trailhead. Bear Lake is the busiest part of the park. Everybody wants to come here. And a lot of that is because, first of all, once you park, you know, you're right next to Bear Lake. And Bear Lake just has beautiful mountain views behind it. It's got a really nice trail around that is partially wheelchair accessible. And so that's a really good option. But beyond that, this is where the trail to Emerald Lake starts. And the Emerald Lake Trail is probably the best trail that you can do if you're really wanting to get some of that alpine hiking, but you're not wanting to use a lot of mileage. You're not wanting to hike very far. This is one that I love doing with my kids, even though they're young. It's a really great option for most people. If you can only do one thing in the Bear Lake area, then I would recommend getting at least to Dream Lake along the Emerald Lake Trail. So you can start this trail to Emerald Lake. You'll pass by 3 different beautiful lakes as you hike it. And each lake is about a half a mile apart. So that makes it really convenient. First, to if you don't want to go the whole way, you can turn around once you reach a lake and you're ready to turn around, that's fine. Or you can just keep going, and it's a little over 3 miles to go all the way up to Emerald Lake and back, but you see 3 different lakes and they're all beautiful. Okay, so that's the Bear Lake Road. And then if we come up here, so if you enter up in this area and you go to the Fall River entrance station, or you're camping in Aspen Glen, then you'll be really close to this area up in here, which, like the sheep lakes and stuff, that's a really cool area to try to find wildlife. Over here in Horseshoe Park, also a good option. But if you keep driving, then you'll hit the Old Fall River Road, which is a dirt road. It's one way only. It's only open for a couple months of the year. But this is the original entrance into Rocky, and it's beautiful. It's just this nice narrow road that goes up into the mountains and then takes you all the way up here to the Alpine Visitor Center. So that's a really cool option as well. Again, you'll have to time your trip a little bit because it usually is only open for a few short months during the year. And then I really like Chasm Falls that you'll pass as you drive this road. Okay, and then we hit the big road that you just absolutely don't want to miss, and that is the Trail Ridge Road. And the Trail Ridge Road has some great trails off of it, also just some really epic Rocky Mountain views. And so this road is a must drive. You need to be up on here, especially if you don't want to hike, but you still want those mountain views. This is the perfect place to go. So we're driving the Trail Ridge Road, and it's this road here that goes up, and you'll pass by several beautiful viewpoints. So you've got mini parks here, you've got Rainbow Curve here, you've got Forest Canyon here. So lots of really cool views. Pretty much once you leave Rainbow Curve and come up and around, you'll notice the trees just stop. You hit that level of elevation where the trees no longer grow, and then you're in the tundra area. And the tundra of Rocky Mountain is what makes this park so cool to me. It's that you can actually hang out in the tundra area, which is a very high elevation area of the mountains. Most people never get to see this area of the mountains because it's so high, and typically you have to hike really far to hit any tundra when you're out exploring the mountains. And so that's what's so cool about Rocky is you actually don't even have to hike to hit the tundra. You just get to drive the Trail Ridge Road. And so definitely spend some time up here. The Tundra Communities Trail is a really great option if you're hoping for some information about the tundra. There's interpretive panels. It's a nice, easy, paved walk that takes you up into this area. And so that's really cool. And then you keep driving, you'll hit the highest point of the Trail Ridge Road, which is over 12,000 feet. And then you'll get over here to the Alpine Visitor Center. The Alpine Visitor Center is the highest visitor center in any national park, and it's beautiful. You've got a big deck that you can look out over the mountains. They have a great gift shop. They sell cinnamon rolls there, which is awesome. And then there's another little trail that you can do from the visitor center to get an even better vantage point. So definitely plan on spending some time at the visitor center. Okay, and then from there, as you leave the Alpine Visitor Center, you're working your way down, down, down. You'll pass a couple of interesting stops along the way, and then you'll get down back into the valley once you hit down here. And then you're on the west side of the park. Again, it's not as busy, not as many people come over here. But a few of my favorite things to do over here is the Holsworth Historic Site. So this is an old dude ranch that you can explore. You can go into some buildings. They have activities for you. It's staffed by volunteers that will just share all sorts of interesting information. And so I really like that. I also really like the Coyote Valley Trail. It's beautiful. It's wheelchair accessible. It's flat. It follows the river and just gives you great river and mountain views. Another thing that I really like is if you come down, you actually leave the park, come over to Grand Lake, and then go back down. And this trailhead takes you to Adams Falls, which is in the park. You can see the boundary right there, but that's a really cool stop as well. That covers the main things to do. And again, there's just so much you can do in this park. So go over to Dirt in My Shoes if you need a better list with more detailed information about each stop. But a few other things that you might want to note is horseback riding is really popular in this park, and so that's something that you can do. There are stables actually in the park over near the Fall River area, and so you can do that. If you're looking for some fun adventures, there's like whitewater rafting and jeeping in the Estes Park area. There's a tram. There's the Peak to Peak Highway, which goes from Estes Park south, and that's really cool. That has like old ghost towns and things like that. And so there is just a lot of things to do around the park as well. Looking at the map again, I covered the main areas of the park where you'll want to focus, but there is some more you can do down here. There's like Lily Lake down here. If you are a rock climber, Longs Peak is just one of those places that everybody wants to come to, and so that's down here. And if you're not a rock climber, but you still want to hike a really epic trail, you can go up to Chasm Lake. You can just hike up there. It's a little bit gnarly, but you can hike up there, and that's really cool, and you don't have to actually go to the top of Longs Peak. So that's a great option. And then you've got the Wild Basin area down here that's really popular. There's some great hikes down in here to lakes and waterfalls. And so there is just a ton to do in this area. As a first-time visitor, it can feel a little overwhelming, and I would mostly stick to those main areas that I talked about, the Bear Lake Road, the Trail Ridge Road, maybe popping over to the west side for a minute, depending on how many days you have. But that gives you a really good overview of the park and kind of what to expect and what kind of activities to add into your day. Another common question that I often get asked about the national parks is, do I need my own car to see all of the main stuff? And in Rocky's case, yes, you do. So if you're hoping to drive the Trail Ridge Road, then you will need your own vehicle to do that. There's no public transportation or anything that goes up and over that road. And so you will want to have your own vehicle to access anything along the Trail Ridge Road. Now, what is nice about Rocky is they do have a free park shuttle that covers the Bear Lake area of the park. And so if you're hoping to get down into the Bear Lake area, maybe you want to hike to Alberta Falls, or you want to hike to Emerald Lake, then you can take a shuttle to those areas. Looking at the park website, they do talk about the shuttle route and which stops it makes. It's really nice. It's pretty convenient, but just so you know, it doesn't cover the Trail Ridge Road at all. It's just the Bear Lake Road. And so they do have a shuttle that leaves from the Visitor Center in Estes Park that will take you down here to the Park and Ride. You can park at the Park and Ride and catch the shuttle up here to Bear Lake. There's also a shuttle that goes between the campgrounds, and so that's really convenient. But you will want to note that this shuttle is available to you if you're not wanting to drive your own car in this area. So looking at the map of Rocky Mountain, the area that the shuttle covers is this area right here. So it's a very small area of the park that it covers, but it is also a very busy part of the park that it covers. And so that's nice if you are just wanting to have a shuttle take you around versus having your own car and trying to get parking. Again, though, if you're hoping to come up and over the Trail Ridge Road, then you will need your own vehicle because the shuttle doesn't go up that way at all. Okay, so now I want to kind of talk you through what a typical day in Rocky might look like. Just to give you an idea of kind of what to plan for and how to kind of structure your day. But for me, when I go to Rocky, and I don't know about you, but like I want to see stuff. I want to get out on the trails. I want to be in the thick of things so that I don't feel like I'm wasting my time or, that I'm just driving around without knowing what to do. So this is kind of what my day looks like. And this is just to give you an idea of what you can expect if you're hoping to make the most of your time at Rocky. So just between you and me, I have to get out early in this park. A couple different reasons. You can see a lot more wildlife when it's early. Also, the entrance lines to this park can get really, really long. Because most people are commuting into the park. There's not, big lodges in the park that people are staying in. They're coming in from Estes Park and trying to get into the park. And those entrance station lines can get really bad. And so I like to be in early before that can happen. The other thing is that there are just certain areas of the park that you won't get parking if you're not there early. Mostly along the Bear Lake Road area, like the Glacier Gorge trailhead that I mentioned that takes you to Alberta Falls and even beyond up into Sky Pond. That parking area oftentimes is full by like 6 a.m. So we're talking early in this park. What's nice though is, they do have the shuttle in that area too. So you don't have to actually get up at 6 a.m. to get in there to get parking. But you will want to plan on some early mornings. It makes a huge difference, especially if you're trying to get to the Bear Lake area or if you're wanting to go up the Trail Ridge Road. The Trail Ridge Road has some really small parking areas as well. So just the earlier you can get in, the better. This park is definitely best suited to people who are early risers, and it just gives you such a great advantage over everyone else if you can get in there and get to those busy spots before everybody else gets there. I also like to stay out in the park a little bit later. The sun during the summer stays out quite long. And again, like those dusk hours or the hours around dinner time get really quiet, and it's one of the best times to find wildlife. And so if you're really hoping to make the most of your time, an early in and a late out schedule is ideal. This park is small enough that if you want to take a little break in the middle of the day when it's really busy, that would work. But I would prioritize early mornings and late evenings over almost any other time in this park. As far as like when you're out exploring, so Rocky Mountain really doesn't have very many amenities at all. You will find bathrooms at the various viewpoints and trailheads and things like that. So that's not so hard to come by. But what is hard to come by is drinking water. You won't find that very often. And any food. I mean, there's no restaurants in this park except for what you will find up at the Alpine Visitor Center. They've got like a little cafe up there that you can get some things. But again, like Rocky is a little bit unique where it doesn't have those big in-park lodges. It doesn't have like the big dining rooms that you can eat in and like the epic restaurants. It's not like that at all. And so while you're out exploring during the day, you will want to make sure that you have enough snacks and water with you because there's really no options in the park. You can go down into Estes Park and find plenty of restaurants, and Grand Lake has a couple of restaurants. But as far as in the park, you really are just limited to that little cafe at the Alpine Visitor Center. I'm not going to go into specific details of like hour by hour what I do in the park, but I do just want to let you know, early in, late out, if you want to take the afternoons, like the thunderstorms hit in the late afternoons, if you want to take those to kind of rest or do something else, then that works really well. And then again, making sure that you're packing food and water with you because there's just not a whole lot of options in the park. But if you're looking for like a really set schedule, you want to know when to be where so that you can get parking, because again, that crowding really is pretty nasty sometimes, then you will want to check out the Dirt in My Shoes Rocky Mountain Itinerary. This itinerary walks you through hour by hour what I would do, where I would be at what times. It has tons of information for you, and that is a good way to plan out your days if you're wanting some help, if you're wanting to know when to be where, if you're looking for like a set schedule, if you're looking for help with the shuttles, any of that. I will walk you through all of that so that you can have a really, really great day in the park. My Rocky Mountain itinerary covers 1, 2, and 3 days in the park. And so you can have a fully planned out schedule really easily with just a couple of clicks. And I will make sure that I link that in the description below so that you can check it out if that's something that sounds like it would be perfect for you. One more thing that you'll definitely want to keep in mind as you're planning out your days in Rocky and as you're hoping to decide when to be where is that I already mentioned the thunderstorms, and so you definitely will want to stay away from the higher elevation areas during the afternoons. That is something that is really dangerous. We got caught, like, I swear, the sky was totally blue and clear when we started, and then just these massive clouds rolled in the middle of our hike. We got drenched. It wasn't just rain, it was hail. There was lightning. Like, this is when I learned, oh my gosh, like, I have got to pay attention to these thunderstorms, because even if they don't show in the weather app, they still almost without fail roll in every afternoon during the summer. So keep that in mind. The other thing, the really important thing that you will want to keep in mind as well, is that altitude sickness is a really big thing in this park. So a lot of people are not used to being at the altitude of Rocky Mountain. You've got when you're hiking in the Bear Lake area, you can hit around 10,000 feet above sea level. When you're up on the Trail Ridge Road, you're 12,000 feet above sea level. And that can really cause some problems for your body if you're not used to the less oxygen that you get at those elevations and things like that. And so as you're planning out your day, you will want to make sure that you're doing things, especially if you're staying in the park for a few days, if you can kind of put some of the easier activities, some of the things that don't require as much exertion towards the beginning of your trip, that will give your body some time to acclimatize. So that altitude sickness is a really big deal. It's definitely something that you need to keep in mind. If you can drink a lot of water, that will help. Make sure you're getting enough sleep and staying hydrated. That will help your body acclimatize faster as you get into those higher elevations. And then you'll just really want to pay attention to how you're feeling as you're out exploring in the park. If you start feeling really dizzy and lightheaded, if you start feeling nauseous, if you feel like you're not getting enough breath, things like that, then the best thing that you can do is just get to a lower elevation. A lot of times that will fix the problem. So if you're up, by the Alpine Visitor Center and you're starting to feel sick, just driving back down the Trail Ridge Road, going back down towards Estes Park, should help alleviate some of those symptoms. If it doesn't, then that's when you would need to go and see a doctor or go to the hospital. But for most people with the altitude sickness, if you can just get to a lower elevation, then your body will start to react better to the lack of oxygen in this area. So it is a big deal. It is something that you'll want to keep in mind, again, as you're planning out your days and what activities to put where. Just keeping in mind, you're not going to want to fly into Denver, go over to Rocky, and then hurry and hike, a 10-mile hike. That's just, your body won't be able to acclimatize that fast. So do keep that in mind as you're making your daily plan. That is something that you definitely will want to keep at the forefront as you're deciding when to do what things. All right, and I know I've been talking for a long time trying to walk you through everything that you need to know for your trip to Rocky, but I have one more thing that I want to mention, and that is where and how to see wildlife in this park. So just a couple of things, as in any mountainous area, you can see animals at any time as you're driving around the park, as you're hiking. And so there's not really one set place that you'll want to go to see animals. But There are some sections of the park that do tend to have certain kinds of animals, and so I wanted to talk you through, if you're hoping to see something cool while you're in the park, here are a few of my favorite spots. Okay, looking at a map, so let's go animal by animal. If you're hoping to see elk in the park, if you are in Rocky Mountain during the summer, then you're gonna have really good luck trying to see elk in those higher elevation areas. And so we typically see the elk during the summer up here along the Trail Ridge Road, kind of as you're approaching like the Forest Canyon area. There typically are a lot of elk up here. Also, as you're driving up, again, like these higher elevation areas, this is where the elk typically go during the summer months. They'll just be up in this higher elevation area of the park. When the fall comes and when the temperatures start getting colder, then the elk do move down and get to the lower elevations. And so that's when you'll see them. One of my favorite places, if you're camping in the Moraine Park campground, oftentimes you'll have elk. Like there's a big field out here with just like tons of elk all the time during the fall. We like to go down and kind of towards Spragg Lake. Oftentimes there's a lot of elk there. You've got like the Beaver Meadows area, which typically is really good for elk as well. So, kind of down in this area is where they like to hang out during the fall, and it is phenomenal. So I love being there during the fall and hanging around here. Okay, for bears, so this park does have bears. If you're camping, you will need to brush up on some bear safety, how to store your food, things like that. I do hike with bear spray in this park, and that just makes me feel better, especially on those longer trails. And so that's something you'll probably want to look into if you plan on spending a lot of time out on the trails here. And the bears really... you'll find them anywhere. You'll find them all around the park. And so that's not really a set place. We've had good luck, again, kind of around this, hiking some of these longer trails in the Bear Lake area, or, if you go like up in like Fern Lake, Cub Lake, there's some good trails up in here. We've seen bears. So that can happen all throughout the park. You can see bighorn sheep in this area up here by Sheep Lakes. They often have a ranger stationed here to kind of help people spot things. They like to lick the salt off the minerals off the rocks up in this area. And so that's a really good place to go if you're hoping to see some bighorn sheep, mountain goats, stuff like that. It's kind of up in this Sheep Lakes area or Horseshoe Park. And then lastly, one of my favorite animals to see in Rocky Mountain is a moose. And what's interesting about the moose is we typically really only see them on the west side of the park. So again, looking at the map, if you come over here, we've seen them kind of this Colorado River corridor over here is really popular for moose. We've seen them as we've been walking over to the Holsworth site. You can definitely see them like along the Coyote Valley Trail. A couple of really good areas to try to see moose. There's also moose, like if you go into either the North Inlet or East Inlet trails, there's a lot of moose back in this area as well. And so if you're hoping to see moose, you will want to spend some time on the west side of the park. That's the best part of the park to see moose while you're here. Thanks for sticking with me through this travel guide, trying to help you get your trip planning set for Rocky Mountain National Park. I think I covered it all. There was a lot to cover, but I did try to hit everything that you would need to know to plan a great trip. If you're feeling overwhelmed by this process at all, remember that I do have a fully planned out itinerary. You literally don't have to do anything but set your lodging, which I help you with. I tell you, where I would stay, and then you just follow the schedule. So it does make it really easy if you're wanting a little bit more help, if you're wanting me to keep up again on like those updates and current conditions, construction, what time parking lots are filling, things like that. All of that comes with the itinerary. But hopefully we covered it all. If you have any questions, leave me a comment. I'd be happy to answer those for you. And you can also click over to Dirt in My Shoes. There is a ton of information about planning a trip to Rocky over there. And so if you need any additional help, I am here for you. And I just hope you have such a great time in Rocky Mountain National Park. Hopefully we'll see you out on the trail.